You spend $3,000 on a kayak, you're not quick to admit that you might have made some mistakes. Well, I'm going to go through the pros and cons of this Jackson Coosa FD now that I'm at the end of the season. I've probably had maybe 200 hours sitting in this thing, and I can give you a good perspective on what's good and bad, and I'm going to be brutally honest. Stay tuned. Welcome back. If you're new to the channel, we cover kayak modifications, spin, and fly fishing. So poke that subscribe button so you don't miss anything. So what do I think about this Jackson Coosa FD after using it for a full season? A lot of guys who spend $3,000 on a kayak aren't willing to admit to any mistakes they made or shortcomings in the boat. That's not me. I'm going to give you all the pros and cons. Let's start with the feature of this kayak that would make me want to buy it again, and that is the drive unit and propeller arrangement. The key thing about the way Jackson has installed this is that the propeller can be raised and lowered while you're seated without having to remove the drive unit. And where I fish, this is really critical. Let me show you the best feature of this system, the hatch. I fish in brackish shallow water where my propeller is continually getting tied up in weeds and seaweed and other things. And the fact that I can pop this hatch open and clear the prop is absolutely huge. The other thing about being able to raise and lower the prop is that I can keep it in this raised position when I'm anchored. And now if I catch a fish or the tide flips and my anchor line rotates, it will not get caught up in my propeller. This is huge. The other great thing about this propeller arrangement is that when you look at it, it's only 11 inches below the bottom of the boat. So add 2 or 3 inches just for the displacement, and this thing can run in about 15 inches of water when it's fully retracted. But the great thing about it is that if it hits an obstruction, it's just going to move up and it'll pop into the low running position, which is only 8 inches below the bottom of the boat. With the great thing being that if you keep going, and you can see I've got scrapes here from hitting all the oyster beds that seem to pop up everywhere, it'll just go all the way back up into the cavity of the boat and not break off the propeller. In fact, the propeller is totally protected by the way the drive unit is organized. It's not going to hit the propeller and pop it off. Another great thing about this prop is that the same blades can be used in 3 different settings depending on how much effort you want to put into pedaling. You can have easy, factory setting, or aggressive. I like the aggressive setting, which it's in right now, and that'll push this kayak at just under 4 miles an hour. It's absolutely phenomenal, and it's easy to replace. So this is a huge, huge feature and is the reason I would buy this kayak again. What about the drive unit itself? Well, it's pretty heavy. I think it weighs about 20 pounds. I found that the pedals are just fine. I know some other guys have replaced these with bike pedals that are a little bit bigger, but my feet don't have any problem staying on here and pedaling. The other thing is it's very easy to install. Basically, you're just sliding it in and out of these slots, and then you have a couple thumb screws over here to tighten it down onto the boat. So when moving the boat, I always take this out because I don't need another 20 pounds, given the boat itself weighs 103 pounds, I think, which is pretty heavy but comparable for boats in its class. Now, one thing I am concerned about is apparently you can see here on the end that there's rust on some of those units. I would have thought that all of this would have been stainless steel and you wouldn't see any components anywhere on this kayak sporting any rust at all. Another big plus to this boat is the easily accessible front hatch. There's plenty of room down here to do anything you would want to do with it. The one negative is when I bought this kayak, I don't know if they've changed this now, they did not give you this front hatch tray. I had to modify this from a tray for the Mayfly model, but underneath there's plenty of room to store pretty much anything I'd ever want to store, to include sliding fishing rods down inside the kayak if I was going to take a long trip and didn't want the rods bouncing around in the back of my pickup truck. Another feature that I like and have used on this front hatch is the paddle park. In addition to putting my paddle up here when I need to just stick it someplace when I'm sculling through shallow water, I also use this to hold my bump board when I'm not using it if I'm into a bunch of fish. Otherwise, I'll slide it either underneath the seat or in the rack I've rigged on the side of the seat. And speaking of storage, I found that the rear storage compartment is plenty big enough for what I take. You know, you can fit a milk crate in here. I basically just keep my bait bucket, small tackle box, some gulp, and I've got my soundproof mat right here to deaden any noise from moving things in and out. It also has all these great utility tracks that I can use to put pretty much anything I want on. I do like the fact that the Coosa came with these cutouts for a Scotty mount, and you can see here's the one that I've not used, but I am using this one over here. I'm getting ready to do the annual maintenance on the hull of my Coosa, and the hull is another positive of this boat. Not only does it cut through the water pretty easily and I can maintain a good rate of speed, but the fact that it's got a high point on the front and the back, I think makes it a little bit easier to avoid damage to the rest of the hull. I've got, after a whole year of using this, I've got some scrapes and things like that up here on this high point that I'll fix, and a few back there on the back. But unlike I had on my Native Ultimate, there's really not hardly any damage at all anyplace else. And so it's almost as if there's a little bit of a sacrifice going on with these two high points, but it makes it a lot easier to repair. A huge positive of this kayak is that it's very, very stable to stand up and fish in. I never felt like I was going to lose my balance like I did in my Native Ultimate. Another feature of the Coosa that I thought was going to be really cool were these rod holders. There's one on each side, and the idea is you can slide your rod in here and then it hangs on the side of your kayak as you move forward. There's two problems with this. The first is if you've got a large reel, this is hanging down pretty close to the water line, and your reel's going to get splashed and it's going to get wet. But the other bigger problem is that these bungees right here that are intended to hold the rod in place have started to become stretched out. And so I've stopped using this because I don't want a bunch of floppy bungees. Another fail on this kayak is the fact that it comes with these Ramrod 2007, which are way too small. You know, when you compare it to the Ram Tube Junior here that I switched them out for, this thing sits down here, and now the butt of your rod is going to poke you in the legs. You're not going to be able to rotate this around as easily as you can this and keep your rod butt up and away from either the gunnel of the boat or your legs. Here's another negative. The seat is not as comfortable as I initially thought, and you can see why right here. When you check out this angle between the back and the seat, you know, it's pretty right angly. And so when your back is in here, you know, your butt is here, the top of the back's there, and this part of your back is not supported. While the lumbar issue was a negative, a huge positive is the fabric used to create the seat. On my Native Ultimate, even though I could tighten the straps to put some more tension in here, just like you can on here with these nice 3 straps, the Ultimate fabric would still sag even though it was as tight as I can get it right here. That is not a problem here with this Jackson seat. I can tighten those straps, and the material that this seat is made out of retains its shape basically and keeps my backside exactly where I want it. Another thing that I thought I would really be excited about, but I wasn't on the Coosa, is the tray. Now this is a nice big tray. It's got room for 2 Plano boxes, but the problem is this U right here. It will only come out below the seat about this far. And this U was apparently a cutout for some other model of kayak so they could have a rod holder here. And so you only have this much usable room. So this is a real fail, and I took it out because I've got other ways to optimize the storage under my seat without being limited to this. You know, if the front of my seat's right here, I would want this to go out this far. You know, then you could get at stuff instead of this far. The Jackson Coosa comes with this dry bag that you can attach to the back of your seat. However, it attaches using Velcro, and it actually fell off once. Thankfully, it was when I was driving across the beach, so I don't do that anymore. I stick this in my rear hatch. Another issue that I identified after I started using it is that the steering control only has a really small nub. It only comes up to right here. So I had to put these extensions on here to be able to get a great grip. And while we're over here, a huge positive feature is that the steering is controlled with these solid metal rods, not cable. So these things are never going to stretch. Another great thing about the steering beyond the cable is you have one of these controls on both sides, and that way your hands both have something to do and grab onto while you're pedaling the boat. Other people have identified an issue to me that the boat does not track exactly straight. Now, I don't really see that because I'm always in a tidal current or wind that I'm always having to make adjustments. But when you look at the rudder, it is kind of small, and the water is going to be maybe right to here. So you probably don't have a lot of rudder room to make sure that your boat is tracking exactly straight. Now, part of the tracking is how you load it. You know, if you load heavier on one side or the other, it's going to track off to the left or the right. So while this is not a problem with me, you may want to look at that if it's an important feature for you and assess how you're loading the boat to make sure that you're tracking straight. Well, how's that for a comprehensive and brutally honest assessment of this particular kayak? If you've got any other comments, either positive or negative about this boat, please throw them in the comments below so it becomes a comprehensive YouTube video for anyone considering buying this to go ahead and look at. I've got to come back to my first point. I've got no regrets on buying this thing because I love this retractable propeller and the drive unit. I'd buy it again with the warts and everything. Take care.